lawyers argue.
Seriously? You think that?
You sound like my wife. But I think the reality of it is lawyers don't argue as much as people think they do. A lot of what we do is collaborate with other people, collaborate with different parties, and bring parties into the same space so that they can come to some agreement. And often that doesn't take as much arguing as it does simply explaining concepts and teaching people about how the law works.
Well, I think that is their profession. If they don't argue, how will they safeguard their clients? Arguments are meant to safeguard their clients, and most of the times, they're studied arguments. They don't just argue for the heck of it.
Being a lawyer means being closed off.
Well, there are various sayings about lawyers. Being open-minded is certainly not one of them. They normally have to take a side, and generally that side may or may not align with their views. But yeah, if they have to defend something and that is part of their moral conduct, they will.
Lawyers are always out to get each other, no matter in the court or out of the court.
I think in some cases that's true. Lawyers often have big personalities, and sometimes they do conflict and they don't like each other. But generally speaking, lawyers are all part of the same community. They spend a lot of time together. They work on different client matters between each other. Sometimes you're working with other lawyers on one matter, and then another time you're working against those very same lawyers. So like any industry, you're part of the same industry, you run into each other all the time, and generally speaking, lawyers get along.
Lawyers are also like politicians. I mean, people think that all the politicians are on the other side of the fence, some are on this side, some are on that. But after all, when it is off the public eye, they are all together. They are all hand in glove with each other. So is the case with lawyers. They are equally human beings.
Being a lawyer is limited to the courtroom.
Lawyers ultimately are lawyers in and outside the courtroom. They may be better or worse, but ultimately they will always remain in that profession permanently because it becomes part of their personality, not just their day-to-day operations from 9 to 5.
We spend a lot of time outside the courtroom, talking to clients, counseling, working through transactional types of law, and doing things that don't necessarily involve courtroom work. So even people that enter law school with this idea that they don't like courtroom work or they don't like speaking in front of people can still be very good lawyers because it isn't all about being in the courtroom.
Lawyers need to have a flexible moral compass.
Depending on the case they have to take up, most of the times their affiliations or ethical concerns do not really matter. They have to align. That is what part of professionalism is. Basically, your profession above your personal views. And that's not mean that all of them do it, but certainly is one of the aspects that you should keep in mind if you want to become a lawyer.
I think if lawyers have a flexible moral compass, oftentimes they end up in ethical problems that at best ruin their reputation amongst the community and don't allow other people or other clients to work with them. At worst, they can end up losing their license to practice law and even be barred from participating in the legal practice whatsoever. So all of the lawyers that I've been with and that I've experienced protect their law license carefully. They protect their reputation carefully by not having a flexible moral compass.